I was a chubby, high-spirited child. When I was younger, my parents visited the beach a lot. I came along with them as I loved the water. It seemed to take away my emotional pains and gaps that preoccupied my mind. I soon developed a love for the place I found peace, and I knew one day I was going to be at the Olympics. These were the thoughts that filled my head while walking into a new school. Dad said the school had an amazing swimming club, but Mom was more bent on my welfare. The principal assured my mother of the school's adherence to her tight measures on bullying. Mom looked at me as I sat, composed with indifference written on my face. I knew no one could fully convince her, not even the principal. I'd been bullied for the best part at my old school due to my chubby looks. We were assured this would be different, so I couldn't wait to experience the high in high school. I was going to hurriedly register with the swimming club and carry on the legacy to college. I had all these thoughts as I stood up in front of the huge stairs that led to the entrance door. I excitedly walked up the stairs, but little did I know, it happened again. Right there in front stood 3 chatty students. They glanced at me, but with disgust on their faces. Then they did what I hated the most. They laughed, they giggled, they sneered. One puffs my cheek and laughed more and walked away. The joy fell. But I had the swimming club still up. With a long face, I walked sadly to the club section and signed up. But club practice wasn't until Wednesday. It got worse as I realized my class was the same as theirs. There were days I would arrive at the classroom to see my seat stained with color. I would be struggling to wipe off its tough stain while they sat in a circle at the corner giggling. The teacher walked in as expected, and as other students organized themselves, I had to sit on what was left of the stain. I didn't tell Mom. Neither did I tell Dad. I didn't want them feeling uneasy, so I pretended at dinner that everything was good each day. On a fateful Tuesday, I sat on my chair until the class was empty. I snuck out the corridor to be sure it was empty as well. Then I walked out. Out of nowhere, Tan, Danny, and Troy jumped in front of me. I was undeniably shocked. They laughed in my face. One bears his chest where he'd written, "Betty is fatty fat," with a biro on his stomach. I covered my face on the wall. They took turns in pushing themselves on me, as if I were a bouncing board. The experience was really horrific. I began to wear hoodies with trousers despite the heaters that were in the school. I tried to cover my weight as much as I could to lessen the bullying, but the cloth only got me looking fatter. As I walked through the hallway to my locker, Danny placed his foot against my path, which I fell over, crushing my jaw. Danny ran away. Club days came. I swam beautifully despite my weight. With time, I got selected for the approaching internal competition. It was a news that brought the first smile to my face in the school. In the excitement that filled the air, I saw detest on the faces of Tan, Danny, and Troy. I looked away. The next day felt different. I just got to those familiar huge steps when I got a notification on my phone. A rumor about me having a mental disorder that requires me to eat a lot, hence my weight. Those words already got as famous as those huge stairs. Everyone gave way. On the hallway, at science projects, even on the field. I was secluded even on the bus. The bus was the only place I didn't have to stay alone. But those days were not good. With hunched back and teary eyes, I ran off the bus, walking home so slowly and slouched, holding on the only thing that stayed with me, my school bag. Someone riding a bicycle calls out, "Fat brain!" to me. I walked home as scared as I was. On entering the house, I met my father on the computer. I dropped my bag and ran to my father and tried to speak to him, but he immediately raises a hand, indicating he won't want to be disturbed, shoving me off. I stood there for a while as I felt the hurt sink. My shoulders hunched again. I wiped the tears again as I grabbed my bag and walked into my room. While I sat in class the next day, the swimmer's coach called me out in private to the empty hallways. He handed me a letter and patted me on the shoulder. He slowly shook his head and walked away sadly. I looked at the letter. With my eyes in shock, tears filled it. I was suspended from the club. If I hadn't walked like a snail before, I did that day, as the last bulb of hope went dull. I couldn't return to class. Nobody cared about my tears anyway. I cried deeply as I walked to the restroom, locked myself in a toilet, crying some more. The school bell went off for cafe time. I came in later than other students, got my snack, sat to have a bite of this burger, when Tan threw his milk packs at me, making mocking faces. My clothes got soiled and milk dripped from my hair. It was more than a child could bear for a day. I snatched the apple knife on my snack tray and slashed my left wrist. I didn't seem to recognize where I was. I looked up to a bag of blood and a red line hanging from it. Was it attached to me? I couldn't tell at the time. Then I heard a sobbing. I couldn't move my body, but my eyes did the moving. It was my father, sitting right beside the bed crying. I knew him to be emotional, but not to the extent of shedding tears. He must have really felt bad for being too busy. My mother was overwhelmed with emotions. I saw a nurse walk up to her, instructing her to get a change of clothes for me. When my cousin Kate came visiting, she told me of how my mother found a diary amidst my clothes. My diary shared same emotions as me. She must have read it all. Mom had gone to the school with much vexation to confront the principal on her failed guidance and false assurance on the first day. Dan, Tanny, and Troy got suspended from school immediately. Children do not know their worth at such a young age, and bullying before it ends a life